Hey guys, well, it looks like it happened again. I mean, last month we lost Georgie Romero, and now, this month, today, we lost another horror legend. And this isn't something I would have wanted to hear when I woke up this morning. So, today we lost the legendary Tobe Hooper. I mean, Tobe Hooper, I always really liked his work for years. I mean, I just remember the first movie I saw of his was the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I saw that movie when I was 14, and I just remember that movie scared me to death. And to this very day, I still consider it to be one of the most scariest movies I've ever seen. So I checked out his other work over the years. I've enjoyed most of his movies. And like another cool thing about Tobe Hooper is that me and him share the same birthday, which is January 25th. So that was something I always thought was really cool. I share a birthday with a horror legend. And I'm just pretty speechless to hear about this today. So I would like to share what I think are some of his best movies. Okay, so let's get started on this tribute video to Tobe Hooper. So the first one I chose, I know a lot of people aren't really big fans of this movie. I know there's people out there who consider this to be his worst movies, but well, it's not his number one best movie by any means, but I still enjoy this movie, and that's The Mangler. This is based on a Stephen King story. This stars Robert Englund, who I actually think gave a pretty good performance. Also Ted Levine, who was from Silence of the Lambs, also was in this. He did a pretty good performance as well. I really like the atmosphere, the performances by those two actors. And I also really like the practical gore effects in this movie. And I think maybe those people just didn't really like the how this like a possessed laundry presser, as well as there's also a possessed refrigerator in one scene. So I guess some people just found that just too ridiculous. Just couldn't take the movie seriously. But other than that, I still just enjoy this movie. And I also chose, this is actually, in my opinion, one of his most underrated movies. That's his remake of Invaders from Mars. So, I mean, I really do like Karen Black's performance in this movie. Also, Louise Fletcher's performance was pretty good too. I also really do like the designs for the aliens in this movie. And the effects, the practical effects were done by Stan Winston. So I really do like the effects in this movie. I thought also the main kid did pretty good as well. So I actually do enjoy this movie. And it's also, like, you know, another one I consider to be underrated because, like, this also didn't do well initially, but since then it's gained a fan base, and that's Eaten Alive. So this kind of like reminded me a bit of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It had the same vibe, like atmosphere, like the villain kind of reminded me of Leatherface a little bit. I just really like how he runs this hotel, then he kills his victims and feeds them to a pet alligator. Yeah, so I also really like how the villain uses this scythe. That was like a pretty cool weapon of choice. Yeah, so I really do like this movie. And this is a movie he actually co-directed. Like, this is a anthology movie that was directed by John Carpenter and Tobe Hooper. And also Tobe Hooper has a cameo in this movie as well. That's Body Bags. So this is like, you know, another pretty good one. I mean, I really like Tobe Hooper directed this segment with Mark Hamill called The Eye, which is about Mark Hamill plays this baseball player who gets into a very bad car accident and loses his eye in the accident, and then the doctors like surgically put in a new eye, but then, like, you know, he starts seeing these visions of like horrible stuff and finds out that the eye that he was given belonged to a serial killer. Then, like, it starts like basically taking control of his mind. And personally, I actually liked Tobe Hooper's segments the most in this one. I mean, I really liked Mark Hamill's performance. I really do like the visual effects, like the practical effects. pretty creepy atmosphere as well. So I really do overall like it. And here's actually another one I consider to be one of his most underrated movies, and that's Life Force, another sci-fi movie of his. This is actually basically these alien vampires, because like, you know, they're pretty similar to vampires because, like, you know, they turn into like these bat-like creatures, as well as also, like, instead of sucking blood, they suck out life forces from people, and they like and the people they take the life force from, like, become like these zombie-like creatures, and they also have to like live off of other people's life force, otherwise they die. I really also like the practical effects. I really like the effects for when, like, the first guy to get his life force taken away, like, you know, he just gets right back up, like all skin and bones, like really pretty cool, pretty creepy. I also really like the space sets, the creature effects, like, you know, they were all pretty good, especially for the 80s. And another one I chose is his remake of Toolbox Murders. I kind of actually enjoyed this more than the original Toolbox Murders, to be honest. I mean, the original one was good too, but I do enjoy this one. And this one actually had a sequel, which was kind of an movie. I didn't really care for the sequel to this. Well, Tobe Hooper didn't make the sequel anyway, nor did he have any involvement. This stars Angela Bettis, who was from May and the remake of Carrie. And I really liked how this had like the same kind of vibe as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I really liked I really liked how the death scenes were very over the top gory, especially the first one where he was using this hammer claw on this woman's head, like we see like her blood shooting all over the place and flesh on the hammer. I also really do like when we see the killer's face. That was pretty creepy looking. Angela Bettis was also pretty good in this as well. I really also liked the darkness, the atmosphere. I liked when they find the killer's hideout, how it's like all covered in like dead bodies. Yeah, so I really did enjoy this. Another one I have is that I also really like is The Funhouse. I mean, I really liked how like these weird people run this this carnival. I really do like when we first see the this like deformed creature, like, you know, he's wearing this Frankenstein mask. He's right over there. He's wearing this Frankenstein mask through like the first half of the movie, but when he takes it off, whoa, that is pretty creepy. I also really thought this movie was pretty intense, like with the scenes of them running through the funhouse was pretty intense. The performances were pretty good too. So I really do like this. This is pretty good, pretty underrated movie as well. And here's actually another Stephen King movie he did, which is Salem's Lot. And let me tell you, that's vampire. Well, you can probably see him a little better over here. That was actually a pretty scary vampire. Like, I just remember when I, like his first scene where he pops up like that actually I thought was pretty scary. Like, I really liked the look of the vampire. I really liked the atmosphere. I really also liked the locations for this movie, like the castle, like the big house towards the end was pretty good looking. Like, it felt kind of like a Dracula movie. There was also a sequel to this as well, which I wasn't really a fan of, but Tobe Hooper was not involved in any way, shape, or form of the sequel. So this was a pretty creepy movie, a pretty good movie. I think this was actually a TV movie though. So, but this was a pretty good Stephen King movie. So Tobe Hooper did pretty good on this one. And another one is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So while this had a bit of a different tone than the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it was more of like an 80s horror comedy tone. But I mean, I really did like Bill Moseley's character, Chop Top. Like, he was very over the top. He just stole the show. I also really did like Dennis Hopper's character, and like Leatherface is a little different in this one, but he was still really cool. I really did also like his mask in this one, and I did like the gore effects that were done by Tom Savini. And especially I really did like the chainsaw fight between Leatherface and Dennis Hopper's character. So yeah, this was a very good sequel. Not as good as the original, but still a good sequel. And got one of his best movies of all time, which is Poltergeist. And this was directed by Tobe Hooper, also produced by Steven Spielberg. And there's rumors that Steven Spielberg directed some scenes, which I'm assuming is true, because that's what some people that worked on this movie claimed. But yeah, because heck, Steven Spielberg's aura is all over this. You get a Steven Spielberg vibe, but you also still get a Tobe Hooper vibe too. I mean, I really did like that scenes with the clown doll were pretty creepy. The scenes where the little girl was getting pulled into the portal through the closet was pretty good. And also the scene where the tree in their backyard attacks them was pretty cool. And as well as also all the corpses popping right up at the end were pretty cool. Yeah, so this was one of his best movies of all time. Oh, another pretty cool scene was the scene where this guy was tearing away at his face, only to see that wasn't real. Yeah, so this was just a very cool movie. Had some sequels. I did like the second movie. Wasn't a fan of the third movie, and had a remake as well. It was okay, but I really do like this movie. It's one of the best 80s horror movies, one of Tobe Hooper's best movies ever made as well. So I really do like this movie. And this is the last one, and this is actually his #1 best movie, and that is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I just remember seeing this movie for the first time when I was 14, and this movie just scared me to death. I mean, I just remember jittering when I first saw this movie. I remember I even rewatched this movie to get set for Texas Chainsaw 3D, and it actually was scaring me all over again. I mean, this had some very creepy imagery, very creepy atmosphere. The Leatherface character was amazing. To this very day, he's an iconic character. The scenes where he was chasing Sally through the woods with the chainsaw just were really scary. I mean, his first scene in general is very scary. The performances by the entire cast were very good. So this is Tobe Hooper's. It was actually his directorial debut. Pretty sure it was actually. May have maybe made some short films before this, but it was his feature-length movie, and this was his best movie ever. Well, the rest of his movies were good too, but weren't as good as this one. So he just created basically a horror classic right here, a legendary movie right here, an iconic character, a horror legend with Leatherface. Because I know a lot of movies have taken inspiration from this movie, but you just can never beat the original. This have had sequels, which I did like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 as well. I also did like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, which was an underrated one. I wasn't a fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4. The remakes they made were the first remake was pretty good. The prequel to the remake was okay. And Texas Chainsaw 3D, which I actually did enjoy. And I do know that there's a prequel to this movie coming out called Leatherface, which I'm excited for. Overall, this was a great movie. Tobe Hooper's masterpiece right here. I love this movie. And I think that's really all I gotta say. So, I think that's really it for this video. Tobe Hooper will be missed. He will never be forgotten. Rest in peace, Tobe Hooper. Alright, see ya.